You know, we've been following this immigration thing for so long. I've been just outraged all day how we could possibly want to let illegal immigrants who broke the law to get in the country serve in our military while we're discharging people and laying people off. I mean, we live right now in a maddening society. Thank God, though, our congressman, 7th District, Virginia, that's in the Richmond, Central Virginia area, Dave Brat, last night, the House voted for an amendment that Dave co-sponsored with our good friend, Representative Mo Brooks from Alabama, been on my show many times, that removed crazy language from a national defense spending bill that encouraged our military to actively recruit illegal immigrants. Actively recruit them. These are people that broke the law. You're putting them in the military. You might as well open the prisons up and put them in too. This is driving me so crazy. The recruitment push was even more offensive when you consider that the Pentagon is laying off thousands of troops as it downsizes our armed forces. You would think I'm broadcasting tonight from Saturday Night Live. This is true. Dave Brat and Mo Brooks stopped it. Right now, joining us live from D.C. is 7th District Congressman Dave Brat. Congressman, good to have you with us, sir.
Hey, thanks, John. Great to be on.
Now, first of all, a lot of people just look at this, and we know there's a lot that goes on in making the sausage and this markup bill for the National Defense Authorization thing. I mean, a lot of people get involved in it. It gets late at night. But for the average person out there, Congressman, they're looking at this and saying, let me get this straight. So we have a military, it's downsizing. We have a military that are discharging troops. Generals are getting fired right and left by Obama. Now we're going to encourage the recruitment of illegal immigrants that broke the law to get in the United States. The first pass they had with this government was breaking its law. And now we're going to recruit them so they go in our military at the expense of other people that can't re-up. What's going on out there?
Well, what's going on is the decline of Western civilization at the highest level. I think everybody knows their old Roman history. Part of the reason Rome fell was because they started hiring the barbarians in, otherwise known as the Germans at the time, to be troops in their own army. And that led to their eventual downfall. On the floor yesterday, Congressman Adam Smith, I wish he was Adam Smith, but it's Congressman Adam Smith, actually made the argument that anyone who is willing to serve in our military shows how patriotic they are. I wanted to get up and say, I debated them in the Rules Committee, and that's all available for the public to see, but I wanted to stand up and shout. I mean, ISIS is willing to serve in our military as well. And these distinctions, it's like you say, it's like a Saturday Night Live show. Mm-hmm. Then he made the argument that if an illegal alien who is working here actually gives up their job and goes in the military, that actually creates jobs for our economy for someone else. And then the Democrats made the argument that this is actually in the best interest of our military because you get to scour the earth for the greatest talent on earth for our military from illegals. And the response there is fairly, it's what you just said. We laid off 30,000 of our best and brightest in the services last year because we can't afford it in the budget. We've trained some of these people into the $100,000 a piece. We're letting them go. They've been trained in assets for our military, and the other side is arguing that illegal aliens coming across, on average with a 10th grade education, are the best we can do for our services. So I mean, it's a slap in the face, and you framed it just right.
You know what? It's maddening to see this stuff go on. And even the argument is so intellectually vacuous, Congressman. It's like there's intellectual assault on common sense going on. You go back to what you said in the debate you had with Congressman Adam Smith, and I'm sure like everybody else, he means well. But on one hand, they're saying, well, let's get all these illegals in because it's okay. It's not going to really cost you jobs, like Hillary said, because somehow the magic immigrant creates jobs because they want to do jobs that no one else does. On the other hand, he's saying, well, if we take an illegal that has a job and then we put him in the military, then they create a job for a U.S. worker that doesn't have a job that they wouldn't have had, that it doesn't matter that the illegal had the job because the U.S. worker wouldn't have taken the job anyway. It's like we're being triple Gruberized.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is an Orwellian situation where language is upside down. I told some of the guys on our side last night, just as a joke, I mean, if the illegal aliens are so talented that they should take the slots of our military heroes, I mean, why not just start out and hire them to work for the White House? And so, and that kind of reverses the humor, right? I mean, if these folks are so good and so patriotic, hire them in the White House, and even better, just so we're equal opportunity, I would suggest they hire all Republicans, and so let someone else pick who will work for you in the White House, and if Mr. Obama thinks that's a reasonable proposition, then at least we're on the same Orwellian footing.
Now, when you put this amendment in to take this out of the National Defense Authorization languages, take it out, and you were having the debate, 20 Republicans sided with every Democrat. I mean, it's inconceivable to people, Congressman Brat, that you couldn't find one Democrat to say, this really doesn't make any sense. I mean, it was 100%.
Yeah. Well, people better start voting the right way. I mean, there's evidence, and you just go around to the Republicans. I don't want to poke anyone in the eye too bad, but just go around and look at what districts they're in, and you'll just see a cheap labor argument about every single time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So people say this isn't about cheap labor, just go to where the votes happen on the Republican side, and you'll find someone who's looking out for their own self-interest over the interests of the country as a whole, right? I mean, that's kind of a hard charge to make against someone, but they could just be making it out of an intellectual error. But they're doing it out of a regional self-interest, and in this case, they're putting the military in second place, and that's an intellectual error that we cannot be making up here.
Congressman, I think you are exactly right on that, and I appreciate the way you framed it. I can be a little tougher. 20 Republicans voted in favor of this, every single one of them in districts that have a high or growing number of Hispanics, and so they're concerned about that. They're concerned about hanging on to their seat, their power, their office, whatever it is that they have, their staff. And so, look, I can never look into someone's soul as to why they voted one way. But when 20 out of 20 of them are from a certain area that has consistency, you can start to draw conclusions. And I think it's disheartening for people, when you look at the fact that, this thing should have gone down 5-1. And the fact that you guys and this is the other thing, you barely pulled it out.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and part of the reason is these sloppy arguments have gone on for too long. People say if you bring someone in, it helps the economy. Well, there's a little bit of truth to that. If you bring a person in, a worker, of course the economy will grow. But what people are most concerned about is their income per person after taxes and transfers. And so up here in D.C., we don't score the total cost, right? If a person comes in, makes $20,000, pays very little in federal taxes, and has 2 kids in school, the cost for 2 kids is $24,000 to the local and state budgets, and that $24,000 has to be paid for by someone. So these business guys are saying, "Hey, let's do what's good for these illegal immigrant kids, the dreamers. They make it all sound nice. We're helping out these children, and da 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 da." But they never put it before the American people, right? None of these bills ever comes up in the light of day. This one came up at 2 a.m. in the House Armed Services Committee, literally, right? It wasn't debated. A couple people have asserted it was debated. It was mentioned in passing at 2 a.m. And so you can just follow these immigration. It always comes up, right? It came up last time, and I had to go to the Rules Committee, was in the Cromnibus situation when President Obama did an unconstitutional overreach, and we had to challenge them there in rules, and we lost. Our side said they'd fight tooth and nail, and they lost their teeth and their nails. And we never put up a fight. Then it comes up at 2 a.m. in the House Armed Services Committee in the Enlist Act this time. It never comes up the way it should in regular order where we can debate this, put the numbers out in front of the American people, let them decide, because the other side knows what the outcome would be. It'd be a slam dunk. This is not rational. And the emotional appeal to helping children, if you really want to help children, try free markets and the rule of law across the globe. The left is against the only system that can truly help the poor. And if you want evidence, just go to China and India. They've lifted 2.5 billion people out of poverty over the last 20 years and significantly improved their lives. And I've always said it's not about the people, right? Every single one of these children is a child of God.
Right.
That's and I care about all people.
Right.
But if you really want to do best, this is not the way. And the final cynical point I'll just mention is when the folks come in favor of amnesty and these kind of things, I meet with them in the office all the time. and I just ask one question: what do you want? And they actually don't have an ask. There's no upper bound on the number of folks they want coming into the country, and that tells me right away that there's something a little cynical going on, right? If they don't even have a clear ask, there's no upper bound. Should we import, 7 billion people into this country? And so the argument just is absurd from the start.
Well, there is no argument, as I said earlier, Congressman. It's vacuous. This is the John Fredericks Radio Network across Virginia. We're with 7th District Republican Congressman Dave Brat from Virginia. Congressman, a lot of what you said earlier about getting illegals in the military ties back into the Trans-Pacific Partnership deal. I think it's a disaster. I think that's pretty obvious if you tune me in. But look, you can't even read it. You have to go downstairs in the secret room with your secret PF Flyer decoder ring to even get a peep at it, and then you can't make copies. You can't take pictures. You can only bring one staff member in. I mean, why this secrecy?
Well, it kind of mirrors the logic I was just talking about in terms of the amnesty. I agree. This is one of the key reasons I'm leaning a solid no against this TPA and TPP, is because, again, if we're arguing in the best interest for the average American, right?
Right.
We should be able to make these arguments in the light of day in debate. Debate is a very healthy thing. No one is a genius up here. No one knows it all. And the best thing you can do is this representative democracy idea our founders thought up, where you put an idea before the people and you air it out on TV. Luckily, we're blessed now to have that as a venue for all people to weigh in with C-SPAN, et cetera. And we need to debate and show where the pressure points are on these arguments. We can't do that. No, I got to go down into a security bunker, and I have been in there to read the bill. And it's 400 pages. What am I going to do? Memorize that and then arrange the key points in my head, and then part of it's classified, and you don't know what you can mention even to your fellow members or not that haven't read it yet because it's under security. And so major issues. I'm a total free trader. It hurts my brain, right? I have constituents who I know need trade to take place. And so it hurts me, but the issue does come down to, do you trust the president and this process? And the only out is they say, well, you get a final up or down vote. Well, even there, look at the doc fix, et cetera. If both sides of leadership doesn't end run, and they agree ahead of time to find 300 votes for 140 billion unpaid for on the doc fix, they can do the same kind of thing in the TPA and TPP. And then my vote is nullified.
Right.
And up here, you know how it works, right? It's kind of a 90-10 proposition. If there's 90% good stuff that both sides of leadership wants and 10% is unconstitutional, well, that's an unfortunate detail, but it passes.
Right.
And that's not the way I operate. I mean, I operate on the fundamentals. The rule of law matters. The Constitution matters. Free markets matter. Telling the truth matters. And if any of those get violated, I'm a no.
Are you going to be able to marshal 50% plus one to stop TPA giving additional trade authority to this president? Is there a way to get in the House to 50% plus one to stop it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Every Democrat's voting against it, right? And so that just perks your ears up. So you got about the entire Democratic side is voting no, and the president is just going to bat for this thing. And so that makes you want, what's he know that the Democrats don't know, right? What's he got in his mind down the pike that can be added to this thing? And Senator Sessions has talked about this, it's this living document kind of thing, like the Constitution, the liberals' interpretation can be changed and morphed as time goes on. And so I'm skeptical. President Obama, you got to give him credit. He's got a room full of sharp lawyers that can look down the pike, 10, 20 years. Mm-hmm. And I'm hugely skeptical.
What you're saying is if TPF Fast Track Authority, Congressman Brat, came up today, right now, with what you know, you would be in opposition to that, right?
Yeah, right. And so you need about 30 or 40 Republicans to be in opposition with all the Democrats, and I think that number is there. And so that should block it. And I'm willing to talk and be reasonable and debate. People say, well, are you willing to compromise? And sure, a nice compromise would be if the president is willing to drop his unconstitutional amnesty that he pushed a couple months ago that would be a nice, good faith offer. And then maybe, the conservatives can sit down and negotiate. But when you make a constitutional end run around the entire body of Congress and then say, hey, trust me on this secret document thing and let's sign off on a trade agreement and we're not all sure on the details, that's asking a bit much.
This is the John Fredericks Show. We're with Congressman, 7th District Republican Dave Brat. Congressman, I got a couple more minutes. Mitch McConnell fast-tracking Patriot Act legislation. As you know, I was opposed to Patriot Act 1, the re-upping of it, so just truth in advertising. How do you stand on this?
Yeah, well, I voted no, and we've made some headway. Congressman Goodlatte has done some good work, and he's made many improvements along the way. The FISA court, there has to be a lawyer in there that helps us. The bulk data collection has been improved. It has to be held by corporations. You need a court order now to go in and make requests for individual data, et cetera. But the key word is in the last phrase I just used. And so I voted no because there's still, in my view, and I'm not an expert on this area, right? I'm an economist, not a legal scholar. But the term individual, right? You need a warrant for individual. If it was to that standard, I would have voted yes. But it's not, because an individual can be an entire group or an entire company or an entire, association. So your person in the law could be IBM Corporation. And so that's still a bulk, warrant situation, and you're going to the very FISA court to ask permission. And so there's still a big opening there. The Fourth Amendment's pretty clear on reasonable search and seizures, et cetera. And so I want there to truly be, if you're going to go after an individual's records, I want it to be an individual's records with probable cause. And that's the standard that we should be striving for. And I'm also very concerned on the national security front, but I haven't heard too much push from that side yet. So I haven't heard the balance being struck right yet.
Final question. The other day, the House sends the Iran review bill to President Obama. What did you think of that?
I voted no on that one as well. And some, rational groups are in favor of that agreement because they think that it's a net positive. AIPAC is for it. And so, they think that it's getting us at least into a process that'll get us going the right way. But I on process grounds, do not like the fact that we almost, just passed this thing on a procedural vote, which we reserve kind of small ball stuff over here. We didn't debate. This is one of the most existential issues our generation will face, is the acquisition of a nuclear bomb by Iran. And so, again, it's almost linked to the trade issue and all the other issues. What's wrong is not each of these on an individual basis, even though they are. I do oppose them on an individual basis. But the greatest damage to the country is that these things are not being coordinated by our president, right? We need national leadership that knows how to put up a fight and defend America and say, look, you 10 countries in the Middle East, we demand a certain level of behavior when it comes to human rights and transparency and military and national security. And here's what's at stake. We're combining everything. We're combining our military prowess, our economic powerhouse, our rule of law, our foreign aid. All of this is the package that the United States has to offer, and it's a good thing for you. If you oppose us, you will get none of it, and things will not go well for you or your people. And we need a leader who will step up and tell the rest of the world, for everyone's sake, right? If there's a power vacuum like there is all over the world now, chaos reigns. And so we need strong leadership to stand up and get us straight again.
Congressman, that's going to be the final word. You voted the right way on every single thing, and you're going to vote the right way on negating TPA and this disaster Trans-Pacific Partnership deal. We want to thank Dave Brat for being on our show. Again, Dave, thanks for being so accessible. Have a fabulous weekend. So
hey, thanks, John.
So
folks want to follow what I'm doing, just go out to Facebook, and we explain most every vote in detail.
You can also go to brat.house.gov, B-A-R-T, brat.house.gov. Thanks, Dave.
Awesome. Thanks, John. Have a great day.
All right. This is the John Fredericks Show. We'll be back.